Well, I'm talking with Mr Robertshaw, and really we've done a series of interviews, but while I've got you, I thought it'd be worth catching up about the landlord bill. The Landlord Association are on record saying they don't quite like what you're doing, and go back and think about it again.
I'm not sure that quite it would be a correct interpretation. There are some landlords already who have already enrolled in the voluntary scheme. There's a variety of views, and yes, at one end there are real concerns, but those concerns to a great extent are built up, to a very considerable extent, are built up on myths and misunderstandings, and when we get to the second reading, I do very much hope that I'm able to put to bed a very significant number of these misunderstandings. It is not bureaucratic, it is not expensive, and it is not intrusive. It is helpful to landlords, and certainly it will protect vulnerable tenants who really need that protection.
Well, you did ask landlords to go away and make an association, which they seem to have done. They've come back. I mean, you know, you're now dealing with a body who overall did reject it. And I mean, not entirely, but there were certainly concerns. Right?
My interpretation of what they've said to myself and my officers is not one of blatant rejection at all. There have been representations made with regard to certain aspects of it, which I would happily debate with those individuals. But there are bound to be concerns. The concept of landlord and tenant regulations acts coming in, they've been in Europe now for a long time. They're coming in progressively right around the UK because the private rental sector is growing phenomenally, and has done over the last decade or so, and there is a real need to provide an element of light touch regulation, and that's all this is. It's one form every 3 years. It's not necessarily an inspection. It's not expensive, and I think there are elements trying to, shall we say, cause unnecessary excitement.
Well, I mean, there's rental and rental, isn't there? I mean, the upper class areas and the houses probably not you're thinking about, but I know Douglas East, which you represent, has got a very top end and the very bottom end of the rental market, and is those the landlords you're particularly targeting there?
Well, I think having light touch regulations will help all landlords. I mean, there are many people now with 1 or 2 properties who've chosen to put their funds into property rather than savings per se, because the returns are better. I mean, I understand the returns on rental income are somewhere between 5.6 and 6% per annum on average, and that's far better than, generally speaking, the stock market or savings. So it's understandable that people are going this way. But if you're a brand new landlord, for example, it is helpful to have a guide as to how you need to conduct yourself and how you might expect the tenant to conduct themselves as well. So it is helpful to all, as well as you rightly say, specifically concerned with landlords who are providing accommodation which frankly is just not up to standard at all. The minimum standards we're articulating are in many regards already in place, but they need to be condensed and coalesced into one place.
So second reading coming up, you don't see any problems. When will this actually get through then?
The second reading comes into Keys after Tynwald. It's the next Keys sitting. And I think there will be some pretty robust exchanges, but I hope that through that process that a greater understanding will emerge and the bill will go forward.
And when do you see it being law?
I would hope by the end of the year.